Second Minister Tan See Leng.
Our local enterprises are a critical part of Singapore's growth story. They account for almost 70% of jobs in Singapore and have the potential to help us venture into new growth areas, create solutions for the world, and reimagine Singapore's economy. Riding on the global economic recovery last year, we registered a strong economic performance, and we have projected GDP growth of 3 to 5% for 2022. Minister Gan has earlier shared in this House that it's still too early to estimate the actual impact on Singapore's economic growth this year given the conflict in Ukraine. The situation is fast evolving and there will be greater uncertainties. In an increasingly volatile environment, the only way to navigate these challenges is to strengthen our resilience and accelerate our transformation. Despite the pandemic, many of our local enterprises have not sat still. They have pressed on with transformation, and they are now in a stronger position to rebound and also to capture new growth. They have sought to turn the crisis into an opportunity of a generation. This is the spirit that will power the Enterprise 2030 strategy. Ms. Jessica Tan and Ms. Janet Ang asked how we are supporting our local enterprises to grow and to compete globally. The Enterprise 2030 strategy is our response to ensure that we can build and we sustain a vibrant ecosystem of Singapore enterprises that are future-ready and possess deep capabilities to compete globally. We will achieve this in two ways. First, we must support the growth of high-potential companies to become global champions. Second, we will strengthen the core capabilities of the broader base of local enterprises in industry transformation. Let me elaborate on each of these strategies. Over the last few years, we have witnessed the emergence of a new generation of local champions. We now have 22 homegrown startups that have reached unicorn status. Many of our homegrown companies, such as Secret Lab, Hagen and Nanofirm, have made a name for themselves internationally. These are the bright spots in our enterprise landscape. We will intensify our efforts to identify, to nurture, and to grow many more promising local enterprises. To do so, we will launch an initiative to cultivate a new generation of Singapore global enterprises, which are locally grown and globally competitive. Both ESG, Enterprise Singapore, and the Economic Development Board, EDB, will provide more bespoke and enterprise-centric assistance to enterprises with strong growth potential and global ambitions, which are tailored to their specific needs and individual growth ambitions. We will also harness resources across the whole of government and our partners to support each of these high-potential enterprises in areas such as innovation, internationalization, and fostering partnerships with other firms. For a start, we will enhance our support for these high-potential companies in 4 ways. A, developing global-ready executives. Secondly, creating new corporate ventures. Third, facilitating mergers and acquisitions, M&As. And fourthly, creating enhanced access to financing. Mr. Sean Huang and Mr. Saktiandi Supan asked how we will continue to ensure that firms have access to the talent they need. As Mr. Liang Ying Hua have pointed out, the answer lies in growing our own timber, providing the space and the opportunity to nurture and to support Singaporeans to be part of the growth stories of many more promising homegrown enterprises. We will launch the Singapore Global Executive Program, SGEP, to boost the human capital capabilities of our high-potential local enterprises and support them in talent attraction and retention, as well as leadership succession programs to develop a pipeline of future leaders, not just locally, but globally. We've also been exploring new ways to support companies in creating new business ventures. Last year, EDB launched the Corporate Venture Launchpad. This is a pilot program to support companies to incubate and launch new businesses within a 6-month sprint. As part of this program, Keppel Land is venturing into digital well-being, companion care, and connectivity solutions for elder care, in line with its ambition to become a leading player in the senior living sector. Given the positive feedback from the pilot program, we will expand the Corporate Venture Launchpad to support a wider range of companies. We know it takes courage, it takes gumption to scale a business. To help our enterprises on this journey, EDB will be launching a mergers and acquisitions and M&A grant to co-fund the qualifying spend on Singapore-based professional and financial advisory services incurred on the M&A deal. We have also launched 3 funds recently to provide capital to accelerate the growth of our enterprises, broaden the range of fundraising options, and help them work towards an eventual public listing or liquidity event in Singapore. These funds are the Local Enterprises Fund at 65 and the Anchor Fund at 65, which are set up in partnership with Temasek, as well as the Growth IPO Fund managed by EDB Investments. Ms. Jessica Tan asked about the progress of the Local Enterprises Fund. 65 Equity Partners, a wholly owned investment platform of Temasek, has been managing this fund and engaging promising local enterprises. We have seen good interest in the fund since its launch, but these are still early days, and many of these plans will take time and a certain runway to finalize. Let me now move on to my second pillar of Enterprise 2030. To strengthen the core capabilities of our local enterprises, we will step up efforts to help the broad base of SMEs in 4 key areas. 1, capabilities development. 2, internationalization. 3, digitalization. And 4, innovation. First, in capabilities development, we have rolled out a comprehensive suite of programs to support both our enterprises and our workers. I will elaborate on our key shifts. Ms. Jessica Tan, Mr. Edward Chia, and Ms. Janet Ang asked how the government will foster stronger partnerships between MNCs or large local enterprises, LLEs, and SMEs seize new opportunities. We will work with Skills Future Singapore to onboard MNCs and large local enterprises who are queen bees to curate industry-relevant training courses in emerging growth areas such as robotics and Industry 4.0. Another initiative is the PAC scheme. PAC stands for Partnerships for Capability Transformation. Under this scheme, we have supported collaborations between large companies and smaller SMEs through co-innovation, internationalization projects, as well as costs of supplier qualification processes. Since its inception in 2010, the government has set aside more than $150 million to support these projects, which have benefited over 2,000 Singapore-based companies. I'm happy to announce that we will be extending the enhanced support levels for PAC to 31st March 2023. Companies can qualify up to 70% for manpower and consultancy costs and up to 50% for hardware and equipment costs. I urge, and I strongly urge, interested enterprises to get in touch with our agencies for more details. Second, on the internationalization thrust, I thank Ms. Janet Ang for her suggestion that large local enterprises can take a step further to lend their networks to create business opportunities for local enterprises. We have been working with many LLEs to do so, and we will adopt a more concerted Team Singapore approach in our internationalization strategy and bring on board SMEs to collectively access overseas markets. I'm encouraged that 1,600 local enterprises embarked on internationalization projects last year. This is in spite of current travel restrictions. Many of these enterprises have gained a foothold in key markets through our support networks, such as Global Connect at Singapore Business Federation, as well as leveraged on ESG's international matchmaking platforms, such as the Open Innovation Network, to connect and to co-innovate with other industry players. We will intensify efforts through these international partnerships and networks to help our SMEs deepen their presence in key markets and pursue opportunities in new ones. Thirdly, digitalization. Ms. Jessica Tan, Mr. Liang Eng Hwa, and Mr. Desmond Chu asked how we are helping firms to digitalize, to strengthen capabilities and capture new opportunities in the digital economy. One way we are doing so is through the SMEs Go Digital initiative, which supports SMEs in the adoption of digital solutions for basic business functions, online transactions, and other more advanced solutions. More than 80,000 firms have benefited from the initiative since it was launched in 2017. In addition, firms can also tap on funding support from ESG's Productivity Solutions Grant and the Enterprise Development Grant. As announced in the budget speech, we will expand the range of solutions under the Productivity Solutions Grant to include new technologies and more sector-specific solutions to deepen capabilities in areas such as cybersecurity and data analytics, which will increasingly become essential skill sets. I would like to thank Mr. Desmond Chu, Ms. Foo Mee Ha, and Mr. Derek Goh for their feedback to strengthen the digitalization capabilities of our SMEs. On Mr. Chu's suggestion to help SMEs tap on a pool of tech talent, this is exactly why IMDA has launched the CTO as a Service scheme. As the name suggests, SMEs can engage a pool of digital consultants for in-depth advisory and project management services. MCI will share more on the digitalization initiatives later on today at the COS debate. We will also study Ms. Foo's suggestion to replicate the CTO as a Service scheme to other functions. On Mr. Derek Goh's point to provide more holistic support for companies, I want to highlight that the schemes I mentioned earlier are part of a comprehensive suite of tools to support our enterprises in each stage of their growth. Indeed, more can be done to raise awareness and to help our SMEs understand how the various tools can support their needs, as mentioned by both Ms. Rahayu and Mr. Sean Huang. I encourage enterprises to reach out to Enterprise Singapore and our network of SME centers for free one-on-one business advisory. Lastly, but not least, innovation. Mr. Desmond Chu and Mr. Liang Eng Hwa asked how the government is supporting enterprises in their innovation and R&D journey. Under our RIE 2025 plan, we will sustain investments in research, innovation, and enterprise at 1% of Singapore's GDP, or $25 billion, from 2021 to 2025. Over the years, we have taken a more enterprise-centric approach to help SMEs build their innovation capabilities and translate their innovations into new products and services. Since 2003, more than 950 A-star research scientists and engineers have been seconded to support over 850 local SMEs in product development as part of A-Star's Technology for Enterprise Capability Upgrading Program, or T-UP. ESG has also enhanced its Innovation Advisors Program to partner industry veterans with SMEs to commercialize their research. Now, these are significant efforts to help our SMEs scale up their capabilities in-house. We have also reaped the fruits of our labor. In the fight against COVID, the A-Stars Experimental Drug Development Center, EDDC, collaborated with the Diagnostics Development Hub and Tan Seng Hospital to develop the Fortitude COVID-19 test kit, the first lab diagnostic kit to receive provisional authorization from Singapore's Health Science Authority, or HSA, for clinical use. The Fortitude kits have been deployed in Singapore and more than 40 countries globally. Apart from COVID-related innovations, we are also encouraged to see more local firms innovating and moving up the value chain. I visited another local startup, Ion Mobility, last year to unveil its flagship product, the Ion Mobius. It's a smart electric motorbike which was conceptualized, designed, and assembled in Singapore. In fact, its proprietary battery pack allows riders to cover a distance of up to 200 kilometers on a single charge. And its interface settings can also be changed with the rider's smartphone. We have invested substantial resources and efforts in building innovation capabilities. And I agree with Mr. Desmond Chu that beyond government support, importantly, our enterprises must also embrace the spirit of innovation as a core capability. And I'm excited to see how our enterprises will push the boundaries to create solutions for the world. After having set out our longer-term plans, I would like to address some of our near-term challenges. The Minister for Finance and Minister for Trade and Industry have touched on many of these issues. I would like to explain how we are addressing rising electricity prices and manpower constraints. Mr. Liang Yinghua asked about the impact of the Russian-Ukraine conflict on our energy supply. Mr. Derek Goh also asked how we are supporting consumers due to rising energy prices and whether these help measures could be extended. While Singapore's sources of fuel are diversified and the conflict in Ukraine poses limited direct risks to our supplies, we will be affected by the high or volatile global gas prices arising from the conflict. However, I would like to assure all consumers that we will spare no effort to ensure that Singapore's energy supply remains secure and reliable. As Minister for Trade and Industry and I have explained in this House, MTI and EMA have put in place various measures to safeguard energy security and to help consumers cope with rising electricity costs. These include ensuring that generation companies have sufficient fuel reserves, establishing a standby fuel facility which generation companies can tap on to produce electricity, and working with the generation companies and electricity retailers to offer fixed price contracts under the Temporary Retail Electricity Contracting Support Scheme, known as TREX. Now, EMA is also working with them to offer longer-term fixed price contracts to consumers who wish to have more price stability. We have since extended TREX from March to May 2022, and we will extend it further if necessary. I understand the cost pressures faced by households and businesses. We will constantly continue to monitor market developments, and we will not hesitate to introduce further measures if necessary to support vulnerable consumers. Eligible households will continue to receive USAVE rebates to support them with their utility expenses. And businesses which need financing support can tap on the loans offered by ESG. I agree with Mr. Liang Yinghua that we can enhance energy efficiency and reduce energy consumption. In fact, we have rolled out a series of measures to encourage consumers to do so by redesigning electricity bills to benchmark individual consumption across other similar users, and mandating energy-intensive companies to implement energy conservation and energy management practices. However, we cannot embark and succeed on this journey alone. We urge all consumers to use energy prudently and to adopt energy conservation as a way of life. I would like to assure this House that even as we address the near-term challenges in the energy sector, we remain committed to planning for the future. We are pressing ahead with our efforts to advance the energy transition and decarbonize the power sector. Minister Gan will elaborate more on this in the joint segment on the Singapore Green Plan. Let me now turn to manpower. Domestically, the labour market in Singapore has tightened over the past year due to economic recovery and international border restrictions. Many businesses continue to find it challenging to access the manpower they require, especially in areas where there are skills shortages. As Mr. Sean Huang and Mr. Saktiandi Supat pointed out, access to highly skilled manpower is a critical challenge we must overcome together, given our aging population, economic uncertainties, and competition for global challenge. Therefore, we have made various adjustments to our foreign worker policies to be more targeted and selective in bringing in high quality and diverse foreign workforce to complement the local workforce. Mr. Cheng Xing Yao asked whether our foreign workforce policies are dynamic and flexible enough to meet our economic needs. Indeed, this is critical. For example, we had recently launched specific schemes such as the Tech Pass and Tech at SG to provide firms with access to specialized talent. These schemes have been well received by companies with around 180 Tech Pass holders and more than 50 firms on Tech at SG. We will continue to actively monitor and review these schemes to ensure that they are effective. I will also share more on the refinements to address skills shortage later on this afternoon at MOM's Committee of Supply debate. Mr. Chairman, in Mandarin, please. 我们致力于协助本地企业在后关闭时代把握增长机遇。除了采取针对性措施，应对当前的成本压力以及乌克兰紧张局势所带来的不确定性，我们也必须在全球经济转型和重组的大背景下，加快产业转型的步伐。政府会鼓励以协助高潜能的企业发展成为全球巨头，及提升中小企业的核心能力，以实现企业2030愿景。我们将着重于加强本地中小企业的能力建设，协助他们创新，进行数码转型及迈向国际化。政府将会助你们一臂之力，让我们的中小型企业能够借东风之势进攻前进，取得新的突破，携手建立更强大、更具有韧性和活力的经济。We have set our strategy under Enterprise 2030, which will allow us to set our sights further, plan for the longer term, and put in place the building blocks right now. Importantly, we will need to continuously innovate, think outside the box, and to transcend our own physical boundaries and constraints to seize the opportunities of the future economy. I strongly urge and encourage our enterprises to equip yourselves for the future. Press on with transformation and set your sights to become the next Singapore global enterprise. The government will continue to support you in this journey. Thank you.